Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Horse Business Podcast with myself, George. And on today's episode, I'm really excited to be bringing you the 2025 January Let's Kick Ass Goal Session, Actions and Visionary, because it's so important, and this time of year is the perfect time to be doing it. And so we're going to spend some time in this episode really highlighting why and what these things are. If you're not doing it already, how you can go about doing it. But if you are doing it, how are you doing it? Are you thinking about it for your personal life and your business life and your hobbies and your horses? Or are you just tunnel vision on one thing? It'd be interesting to find out. But let's take it and let's go further. We're going to also be looking at the livery space. Yes, that's right, the equestrian livery yard business, because it's so important. And actually, all over social media at the moment, it's all about the livery business. And so I wanted to take some time to cover it on here today. So let's get into it. Goals, planning, and vision are absolutely essential for your business, your personal life, your hobbies, and even your horses. And I absolutely believe that. And why? Because I also didn't do it myself years ago. And now it's an absolutely integral part of where I am. And the growth it can bring you is exponential. But let's take it back a step. What are goals? Why are we planning? And what is the point of a vision? Firstly, planning. Planning is the first step, and it's all part of the goals and the vision. Where are you going? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be? What are you wanting to achieve? Who do you want to meet? Where are you wanting to be in 5 years' time? Without planning, we have no direction. And the best way to do that is through the vision and the goals. And often businesses call it a mission. They have a bit of a mission statement, which sort of helps them on their general trajectory. But today we're going to look at the vision and the goals. Your vision, your goals, why they're important and what they are. And stay tuned, by the way, because I have mentioned in the introduction, but we're going to be looking at livery yards. I've seen it many times on social media, particularly lately, a lot of interaction about what's going on in the livery yard space and how it's particularly difficult here in the equestrian industry, and how setting goals, having a vision and knowing your plan can really help mitigate problems, specifically if you are looking at livery businesses, but it will relate to everybody here listening on the show. I totally believe that because I do it myself every day and I know how important it is. Vision. What is it? Now, this might sound like I'm teaching you how to suck eggs, but people don't think about that. They go, oh, well, my goal is to go on holiday in 6 months' time. My goal is that by the end of the year, I'd like to be able to afford X, Y, and Z. But actually, without the vision, there's almost no drive there because there's so much behind that which really shapes what we do. So let me explain. The vision is almost like the oracle, or it's almost like a great one is getting to the moon. That is such a big vision. Now let's just put that into your life. What's your vision? I would like to have more free time in next year because I'm planning to have a child and build a family. Is your vision that you want to be out competing at a top level for your riding ability and not have to work and have all the time to do that competing? Is your vision that you, by the end of this year or 3 years or 5 years, want to have this house in this location and I want this sort of animals on the farm and doing this with my horses and having this many dogs and a family? And is that your vision? But suddenly when you start thinking about it like that, how powerful is that? We get so stuck in what we can't do, how challenging it could be, rather than saying, well, this is what I would like and how am I going to get there? The benefits of having a vision is that it gives you an enhanced, meaningful daily drive. If you remind yourself of that every day, why you're getting out of bed, why you're going to do your job, why you go out to your horses in the absolute freezing cold when it couldn't be any less attractive, but you still do it because you've got the vision behind you. The vision is something which brings all of your emotions in together and really gives you a warm heart and helps you gain momentum. I really, truly believe that, because there have been years in my life where I haven't had a vision and I've gone, well, obviously we're moving forward and I want to get better. But what is that? Because just by saying I want to get better isn't going to reinforce your habits and your disciplines and reinforce the confidence that you have in your actions to move forward. So, in essence, the vision is where you're going. The vision is Elon Musk's Tesla. It's a vision which, without it, you could have ended up anywhere. So first of all, I'd really ask you to think about your vision. Write down what you are looking to achieve, whether that is in a year or whether you want to break it down and do it over 5 years and say, well, over 5 years, to be honest, I'll tell you what my vision is. In 5 years' time, I have the pictures here somewhere, actually, but I don't have it to hand now. Now I'm recording. It's a vision board. And the picture is of the type of property I would quite like to have or live in. It's the sort of setup and scenario that I would like to be in. It's got my ideal sort of plan for relationships and family on there. I'm trying to think what else it's got on there now. I'm saying it out loud. It's got what I want to be with the horses. It's where I want my businesses to be. It's where I want to feel and know that I am content and enjoying life in 5 years' time. Now, I enjoy life now, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. It's where I'm going. And like, that is so exciting to me. That's what, when I wake up in the morning, this morning, my alarm was set for 6 a.m. today because I went to bed quite late. I was awake at 5 a.m. waiting to get started. And I was like, right, let's get up. Let's go and do it, because I'm so excited about having that vision and where I'm heading. It's not something I've always had. Now, I don't want to labour on that any further. So how do we get to the vision? It's goals. Setting goals. Now, a great acronym for this is the SMART goals. I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's creating specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and or relevant. I use both depending on the situation. So relevance is quite important, but they need to be realistic as well. And then setting a time-bound time period that you're going to measure it over. Because if you can't measure it, how do you know if you're achieving it? So it's got to be all of those things. It'll be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay, so that's the basic setup. Now, this is a great place to start for setting your goals. Now, let's just focus on this year. You got your vision. You know what you're wanting in the end. So how are we getting there? This year, I'm going to do this. And if I do this 5 times, I will have my goal, or my vision, in 5 years' time. Do you see how I've worked that out? So I've got my vision. I'm going to go with 5 years because that's how I work. 5-year vision, divide that by 5. That's yearly manageable tasks and steps to take to achieve it. And I'm saying it out loud, it sort of feels revolutionary. It's obviously not, because I was taught it a long time ago and I'm going over it today. But doesn't it just make so much sense? Specific goals. So let's start off specifically. What are you heading for? What do you need to do every year for 5 years to get to your goal? Now, for me, that is a certain amount of business growth. That is a certain amount of ridden growth. That is a certain amount of doing these things, because actually, believe it or not, my 5-year goal is to be a really big public speaker. And by doing these podcasts every week, I'm rehearsing how to speak, the best ways to speak, practicing recording, creating content. So that is one little tiny part of what I do now, which makes, in 5 years' time, imagine how many hours I have spent speaking to a camera, albeit, but practicing a process of speaking, and then how powerful that can be, the compound effect of that over 5 years. Now, make it measurable. How many things do I want to do in those 5 years? So for me, in my 5 years, my specific target is to speak more. So I'm going to measure it, and I'm going to say that I want to do 52 hours of verbal recorded content within the year. Now, that times 5 years is a lot of time speaking and content. Is it achievable? Well, absolutely. Absolutely. An hour out of my week, once a week, every week for a year, do it over 5 years, absolutely achievable. It's relevant. It's relevant to where I want to go. It's relevant to the fact that I want to have a voice out in the world and I want to help the equestrian space. I want to do that through talking to people, helping people, and communication is key to everything. So it's absolutely relevant. And then time bound. Like I say, we've already set the time boundaries, but have you? What is the time specific setup that you're going to have for your goals and your achievements? So start mapping out what you do. Start mapping out where you're going. Because the big picture goals turned into actionable steps create the real vision. So the big picture goal, the vision, divided into actionable steps over a time period is going to create that big vision for you. And that's absolutely true. I can show you case study after case study. I can tell you some big names. I've already mentioned Elon Musk for one. So let's start mapping it out. And then with this, you also want to make sure that whatever you're doing for your business aligns with your personal values, your hobbies, your long-term aspirations, because it's all of these things put together over a period of time which create the motivation to be able to go and do it, create that drive and that discipline, because a lot of it is not going to be easy. Getting where you want to get and a big vision goal is never going to be easy, but by aligning all of it together with your personal being, who you are, and what you want to help out in the world with is going to help you get there so much faster. I've gone on enough about vision, goals. I think you get the idea. It's 2025. It's January. Sit down, spend a couple of hours, or maybe even just an hour a day or half an hour a day or 10 minutes when you're scrolling on TikTok when you first wake up in the morning. Just instead put that down and start writing out some of your visions, your goals, and how you think you can get there. And of course, if I can ever help anyone with this, please feel free to get in touch with me. So now this is a really big topic. And if you are this person or thinking about being one of these people, you need to do my first steps first that I've just talked about. But it's the livery yard discussion. Livery yard businesses are struggling. And many struggle because they don't set a goal and a vision. And they run it almost as a hobby. This is exactly why I started this podcast, because so many people do it. And it only seems to end up with problem after problem. And I'm seeing it daily and I'm hearing about it regularly and I'm talking to clients about it. And there is a way around it. So the reason this has come up on today's episode is because I actually came across a post from Tampner Eventing Team, and they've shared a post, and I've got it in front of me so I didn't get anything wrong. But they've shared a post, they've added comments to it, but it's been shared from Ibby McPherson. Now, what Tampa Eventing Team is saying is that everyone in this industry seems to think we can do everything for nothing, and that's why they felt so important and so much in their heart they needed to share this post from Ibby, because it hit home. It really hit home. The economic climate out there for businesses is hard anyway. It's hard anyway. And the reason the equestrian space is so challenging, in my opinion, is because we do not think twice about using nurseries, childcare, doggy daycare, because we need to continue with our work, with our businesses, with pushing forward our own vision and goals. But the price of the care of a child, doggy daycare, is almost like we don't question it, because perhaps it's a little bit less. Perhaps it's your child, so you've got that little bit more, responsibility. You're not leaving it on someone else's yard. But it just makes me think, when I thought about this morning, how is it that we do the childcare because we have to do the childcare, because we can't have the child at home with us? We do the doggy daycare because we don't want to leave the dog at home for 8 or 9 hours a day. But when it comes to our horses, which are 10 times the size, responsibility, liability in most cases, we don't want to spend the equivalent sum on looking after those. The problem is, for livery businesses, the costs are going up exponentially. And whilst I appreciate perhaps salaries and income is not going up exponentially across the economy, why is it that livery yard owners should be subsidising you and your horse? Horses are a luxury. So if you get into horses, you should expect to pay luxury prices to look after them, unless you're going to do it yourself. And that's something I'm going to get into shortly. But we're particularly talking about the livery, the more like full livery setups here. And I'm just going to take a look at this post and share it with you a little bit more on why I wanted to talk about it. So Ibby McPherson has shared her costs on running a livery yard. Now, she's highlighted that, of course, people can do it cheaper. Of course they can. But Ibby herself owns her yard. She's not renting. She might have a mortgage, but she owns it. And these are her costs. Hay for a 1 horse per week, £25. Straw, £14. Feed, £42. Horse care, that's 1 hour a day at £15 an hour, which by no means is a high wage in this day and age, is £105. Then you've got the box. You've got the rent of the box, the water, the electric bill, the business rates, the insurances. I mean, I can tell you that from experience. Public liability insurance, employer's insurance, property insurance, maintenance, schools, jumps, fence, grass, spreading, muck. There's so much to take into account. And that is before we even start thinking about ridden work. Because I'm sure Ibby has got horses in that she rides for people. She trains. She's an eventer. £256 per week per horse before they are even ridden, touched or done anything with them. And then Ibby goes on to explain how much it costs for her to ride the horses and to exercise them. Even on a minimum wage, we're talking £346 per horse per week. And this is someone that knows what she, is not just starting out. This is somebody who's living and breathing this. Her knowledge, her expertise, her experience is worth way more than a minimum wage. And I just read this morning and just thought that, it is so important and so essential for us to have this conversation. Now, is a business truly viable? Is your business? So if you have got your own business, or you work, or you do something outside of the equestrian space, is it really viable to run your business at a loss? Are you really going to be undercharging to the point of burnout? When people do, that's a sad reality. But the people who actually use the livery services usually are not in a situation like that, where they're burning out and undercharging, but yet they expect others to do it. And this is a really, really important point. And I need to help start changing the outlook on the industry and this space for this particular reason, because actually livery yards work really, really hard for a very small margin. And without them, we wouldn't have somewhere to put our horses. They would be on DIY. You would be going down and doing it yourself every morning. You would have to rethink your plans every day. The time that gives you by having a horse in livery, is that not worth paying somebody properly? Would you not pay somebody properly in your own business? So it is very, very clear that there are increasing costs in the space. From bedding to labour to insurances, the insurance space has hiked the past couple of years. I too, as a horse transporter, have seen huge hikes in insurance costs, in every sort of cost these last couple of years. But no one will pay more in the livery space. And so, again, I just want to shout out to Tampner Eventing team for sharing the importance of this, and for Ibby herself for posting it out on social media to make awareness of it, because it is important. Horses are luxuries, and we do need to start realising that. What is a livery yard? Let's quickly go over what is a livery yard. A livery yard is somebody who is running a space, a stables, that is dedicating their time to their own training, but also you and your horse's welfare all day, every day. There is no time out. I have friends who do this themselves, and there is no time out because it's too tight to afford more staff. It's too tight to get. They're doing their best with their costs. There's no more space to wiggle costs down. So what do? And I know people that are reducing their livery yards. I know livery yards closing, but yet they're so important to us. Just like nurseries would be for our children. Just like some of us use doggy daycare centres. Just like there's so many things that we actually use. We don't actually think about it like this. It's so important to us, and we're not wanting to pay it, so they're closing. They're disappearing. And I know people that move around regularly, not by choice. As a transporter, I see it, but because livery yards shut down. Or they put up their prices, but then, we need to go out and earn more. We need to find a better way for this. Anyway, sorry, I got onto a bit of a string there and I lost my way. So, I've shared with you some numbers that are real numbers by somebody totally outside of myself. And I know what it's like. I've seen it. And I'm so pleased that people are sharing it on social media. I hope it brings more awareness to everyone because like Ibby said here, and I'm backtracking slightly, but all of these costs don't even include if she was paying a rent. She owns it herself. What if she had a huge rent bill to pay as well on top of all of these costs? So, yeah. Anyway, I really do empathise with how fair pricing is so important, but I also don't want to see horse care and livery businesses that are so vital and integral to this industry start disappearing or reducing. The care of the horse should be the priority, and if the price goes up, we need to adjust to it ourselves because we know we're getting the care that we deserve and we know our horse is getting the treatment it requires. Now, I've gone on about that enough and I just hope it raises some awareness, but I wanted to end this or start closing down with my top 10 steps to raising your prices efficiently. Now, it starts with the vision and the goal. It then goes to a business plan and making sure that you have really nailed your costs and you really have sorted that out. And your services, your premises, your offerings are in line with where you want to be sitting in the market. Because please do know that there's an average in every area, in every town, in every city, in every country. There's an average price for full livery, DIY livery, part livery. But also there is a fluctuation depending on what you're offering. And align what you offer with your prices. So, my 10 top tips for raising your prices efficiently in a way that's manageable and actually, hopefully you don't need to do this because you've got the planning going right and you're making money already. But if you need to, this is what I would say. Number 1, you need to start off with transparent communication. Start by explaining the reasons you're increasing. Start with sharing a breakdown of the costs, a bit like Ibby's done. I'm sure you can find her. Her name is Ibby McPherson. It's shared by Tampner Eventing on Facebook. Find the post, see what she's doing. Get some more ideas. And this goes for all business, by the way. So I'm focusing on livery because it's so prevalent, but please take this, if you're listening to this with another business, it's all really, really important. So first off, we need to start off with transparency. Share a breakdown of the costs, the feed, the insurances, the day-to-day care, the labour, the national insurance increases that we've just had through the recent budget, everything. Share it with them. You've got to be open and honest because that's the only way you can really start to get people to understand, just like Ibby is. Then we want to lead with the value. Highlight the services and the benefits that your clients receive. Is your yard a fantastic top-of-the-range yard, or is your yard a fantastic middle ground yard that offers a fantastic level of service because you're affordable, but your products are a bit more basic? Now, that's okay too. That's actually brilliant. There's a lot of people that want that. But lead with the value. What does your yard bring to other people? Is it safety, security? Is it someone's living on site? Is it the indoor school? Is it the hacking? What is your benefits and values? Highlight that to the people that you are working with, because that is why they're there with you. And sometimes just a little reminder can help them understand your position. You can be reinforcing that your yard goes above and beyond. When they need somebody to grab their horse in from the field that's 10 acres away, you do it. You bring it in for the farrier and you put it back out for them. And perhaps you haven't been charging for that, but you could be. So reinforce the value that you give people. Use gradual increases where possible. This is number 3, gradual increases. Don't go, oh, sorry guys, I'm struggling, whack on 30% on the bill. They're all going to leave. You might refill it, but it's just not the way you want to go about it. You want to build your relationships, you want to build your rapport, and you want to communicate effectively with them about it. So do it gradually, but ideally do it during your vision and your goals and your planning. Client meetings. If you are struggling to get them to understand through your messages or through talking to individuals, and then, it can often become a bit of a gossip circle on larger yards, have a meeting with everyone. That's number 4. Be open, chat to them, explain to them. Perhaps you can put forward in a meeting how we can be more sustainable. Perhaps there's other things that we can do which helps you as a business, but also helps them keep the costs down at the current pricing. Add options is my number 5. So you can start adding options to your livery services. Now you can tier your services more. So rather than, I'm full livery and I'm DIY, you could say, well, I've got the full livery package. It is now this is the new price. But if you wanted to take over your horse on the weekends, we'll keep it at the old price. Or, offer packages. That is really, really helpful to some people, and often it can be very manageable for them. Now, there's also incentives for loyalty. I mentioned this a few times through my work with people, and it's not something we do a lot of in this space, but consider offering discounts for long-term stays. So what about a contract for more than 1 year? How about a 2 or 3 year contract? Would someone be interested in that at the right price? Now, there'll be someone skeptical on here that says, contracts are never going to stand, la, la, la. Well, in 95% of the cases, they absolutely do. And because you built the relationship, and because you've done them a deal, and because you're working with them, they'll want to work with you too. Perhaps do a discount for a 6 month, a year upfront payment. Would that help you not increase their price? If they paid you in full for the first 6 months, would that benefit you in your cash flow? And then you can keep them on the same price for another year because you've got the benefits of having that upfront. All these things people and liveries will consider. Then we can go to number 7, comparing the market. Now, this can go one of 2 ways, because you could compare the market and realize you're really expensive. But then that's when we go back to points 3, 4, and 5, and we say, well, we're expensive, but we offer this value, we have these benefits, and we run this service, which others do not. And so using price comparisons and markets can really help you to start also highlighting the value that you're offering other people. But you can also do that to help you align your pricing, because we don't want to be pricing ourselves out of the market, but we got to start making a profit. Why are we need to start with the end in mind. We need to start with that vision in mind. We need to make goals to reach that vision, but we also need to make sure that the business has got a plan and sustainable per each step. And that's why we use the SMART and measurable goals. 8, a timeline and notice. You need to give plenty of notice of any changes. Now, really, this is probably quite standard, but I do hear of it on many occasions where people have been given notice to leave, have been given notice of a price change, and it's a week, it's 2 weeks, it's a month. And actually, depending on the situation, now this is really, really situational and dependent on who they are. If it's one person with one horse, perhaps a 1 month notice or 2 month notice if you haven't got a contract, which that's another talk altogether, contracts and having the right agreements. But that might be acceptable with a good relationship. If you have got somebody there renting your yard and they're charging you, let's say you're paying £5,000 in rent, and let's say that could equate to 20 horses, 10 horses, 15 horses, and you're going to give them a month of an increase of whatever that might look like. That's a big amount of money for that many horses. That is really, really challenging for somebody with that sort of notice, because that person running their business out of your livery site needs to then pass those costs on. And that takes time, because they'll have a period of time that they need to give their clients. So let's be giving the correct amount of time and notice and be fair. We're all in this to work together. Without working together, we have nothing. So let's be fair. Work with each other. So that was number 8. Number 9 is invest in visibility. Use the opportunity to increase your visibility in the market. Attract new clients. You might lose some people when you go through this process, but advertise your new prices, advertise the benefits and everything that you've gone through in this process, advertise what you do, and you will attract more people as well. So start investing in the visibility side of it too. And number 10, you have got to stay confident. You have got to stay firm on what you've put together. Now, there's no reason, if you have got your plans, your goals and everything else, and you know your costs, and you know what you're currently achieving and what you need to achieve, that you cannot be 100% confident in your conviction, and you need to stand by it. Because liveries, anyone, we all do it. I'm sure, whether it's in equestrian space or not, you want to get the price down, and you really don't want to pay more than you have to pay. And they will try and barter you. They will try and guilt trip you. They will try everything that they can. But that is why, if you go through a 10-step process, which I've put together, you hopefully mitigate most of those. You will have done all of the steps to build the relationships, to find alternatives before having to do it. But if you're at that point, stay confident, conviction, run with it, because it's your business and you cannot run it at that loss for somebody else's benefit. Do not run it at a loss for somebody else's benefit, please. I've seen it one too many times. You're running around like a busy fool and everyone else is having a fantastic time because you're doing the work. So I think hopefully in those 10 steps I've given you some help and tips on, if you are a livery business, what you can do. We need to be fair in our pricing of everything. So please, whether you're a livery, whether you've got your own business, whether you're a saddler, whoever you are, let's make sure we're making a profit. Because profit isn't bad. Make sure we're making a profit. We're paying our staff well so we can hold on to the staff. Again, that's another episode altogether. And let's work together to make this pricing work for all of us. So, a call to action. What could you be doing now? Well, raising prices is not greedy. It's about valuing your time, your expertise, and your services. And you deserve that. Your business deserves that. I'm going to say that again. Let me get it right. Raising prices isn't greed. It's about valuing your time, your experience, and your services that you provide. Your business deserves to be valued. And you've worked so hard, it deserves to be sustainable for you. Now, that is bringing me to the end of the session. And it has been great. I've actually loved talking about that because it's such a big topic. So I will just remind you, if you want to find what I'm talking about, it was posted very recently by Tampner Eventing Team. And it was quoting Ibby McHalfson, and she is an eventer and she has shared all of her costs for everybody to see. So go and look it up. Work it out for yourself. But if you are a livery business and you are struggling, please feel free to reach out because I can absolutely help you turn things around. I've got my process to help you initially, but if you need further guidance on how we can do that and keep everything tickety-boo, then please feel free to reach out. Wow, I've enjoyed that episode. It's a bit of a longer one, I think, than what I usually do for solos, but it's really, really important that we work together on this. So, as a summary, get your vision. Where are you going? Set some goals. How are we going to get there? Make it measurable and timely. What do we need to do each year to get to your vision? And in the meantime, create the correct plan and business plan if you're starting up a new business to ensure that you're not subsidizing other people's pleasures. Make sure you're making a profit. That's it from me on the Let's Talk Horse Business podcast. Thank you ever so much for joining me. It's such a journey, and I'm enjoying every week, and I'm so excited. We've got another solo episode to come, but then we kickstart back into our guests, and I'm so excited. I've got some of the interviews coming up, and it's going to be something else. So please stay tuned. If this has helped you at all, or if you have anyone else that this could help, please follow the show, because following the show helps no end in growing it to its next steps. The more followers that we have, the more we can go out there and help people in this space. So please follow the show, give us a comment, give us a rating, share it with people who it can also help, and by all means, get in touch if we can help you. Thank you very much. Let's Talk Horse Business. See you next week.